Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Jason, and this is Art of Creation Homestead. Today we're going to take you into the garden, and we're going to talk about our 2021 tomato season. It's coming to an end, sadly. It's Labor Day, okay? Labor Day when we're doing this video, and as you can see behind me, I've put some leaves down in the row right here. So we've got some leaves from some of our trees getting ready to start, so we can start breaking them down. And here's our tomatoes, right here, and right here. Obviously you can see some of them are pretty rough. That's what we're going to talk about, is what worked, what didn't work, what happened, what survived, what didn't do as well in those conditions, things of that nature. First of all, I want to tell you what happened in our tomato season, okay, weather-wise. So we had about 2 different periods of time where we had extraordinarily heavy rain constantly for a few days, and then followed by extraordinarily dry weather and heat for like a week. Okay, so did that, like 6 inches of rain in 36 hours, and then another dry week, and then another like constant rain every day, like for over a week, and then another dry spell. So the extremities in that weather created some issues for our tomatoes. And as you can see, some of them didn't survive. And that became the issue for our tomato season. We had several tomatoes that did do well in those extreme conditions, and that didn't succumb to disease. And we had several varieties that had disease still put out some tomatoes, and we had some varieties that just didn't do anything at all because of that issue. And look, we are heirloom gardeners. We love to grow heirloom tomatoes. We love to grow heirloom whatever we can, but sometimes this is the issue with heirloom gardening, is that they're not all disease resistant. So behind me here is an Amish paste tomato, and they grew okay, but they are prone to disease. The upside to Amish paste is that they produce beautiful canning tomatoes, just large, meaty, delicious tomatoes, great for canning, which is what we use them for. But the downside is, again, they're prone to disease. So we did get some tomatoes off of them, but disease really took its toll on them. See, this is just so much problems. Now, obviously it's late in the year, they just couldn't live up to what we needed them to do because of the disease. Now, coming into the year, we were on the lookout for heirloom tomatoes that had the best disease resistance, because we have had issues with disease in our dirt for a few years now, only because we can't really crop rotate here. We don't really want to dig up any more ground. We could go the other side of the yard, but we do have things over there already, so we're just trying to manage in our ground best we can with heirloom tomatoes. So we were looking for, again, the most disease resistant heirloom tomatoes, and one of the things we came up with was a tomato that we had already been growing and we loved, was Carbon. Okay, doesn't seem to be a super popular variety. We really love it, and it did pretty good, has done pretty good even in the disease that we have in our dirt, even in the extreme conditions. It seemed to just power right through. Now, obviously here behind me, you can see it's drying up. It's had its issues now, okay? But in here, we do still have a nice looking tomato, growing well. Another tomato here, another tomato here. It has worked. It's done well, and that's all we can really ask for. That one has done really good. One that didn't do well, Mortgage Lifter. We just won't grow it again. While the Mortgage Lifter has been a classic tomato variety that a lot of people love, it just didn't do well in our environment. So it's out. It's done. Hungarian Heart, it's out. It's done. It's over. We're not dealing with those tomatoes because they just can't handle whatever is going on inside of our dirt. Tomatoes, a lot like we'll say a lot like coffee, okay, are affected by your soil, affected by your environment, affected by what's going on in the weather. If you're a coffee lover like myself, and you start looking at different coffees, coffee beans are affected by the soil, by ashy soil, and around volcanic ash, around different soils in different regions of South America and Africa, and those things have a big effect on the coffee. Well, those things also have a big effect on tomatoes. So our soil affects our tomatoes. So like people want to grow San Marzano tomatoes. Well, you're not really going to get a San Marzano tomato unless you go to San Marzano, Italy, because its soil in that region is perfect for that tomato, and it creates that beautiful tomato. So here we got to look for what does good in Southwest Ohio and what does good in our backyard garden. So those things have done well. One tomato that I do love, that yes, it is prone to disease, it does wind up succumbing to disease, but it's just too delicious, is the Hillbilly. Imagine that. It's a Hillbilly. It's a beautiful tomato. I don't really have any here. I can show you what the plant looks like now. See, it's struggling. Here's a smaller variety of one that's just rough, but it's struggled here. It's still growing. I mean, heck, look at all up here. It's still grown, although it has struggled. You can tell those plants have seen better days, but they do produce my favorite tomato. Okay, as you can see right here, maybe we can get a picture go up there. It's just a beautiful tomato. Great flavor, and it's a great slicer, very meaty. I'm not gonna go without that one, no matter what. So that's also something we have to think about, is what tomatoes can we just not live without, and that's one of them for me. Black Krim is another tomato that we grew, that we've liked in the past. It just didn't do well. It couldn't handle this environment. Whatever's going on, it couldn't handle it. Bonnie Best has done well. So Bonnie Best and Tappy's Heritage, okay? Those are two tomatoes we're counting on for canning, for heavy producers and canning tomatoes, and they've both done well. They both handled the environment and did well in the situation. Let's see if I can find one. So here's some Bonnie Best, still trying to ripen up. They've done great. Yes, they did get weakened by the disease, but they continued to produce no matter what. We may not grow Tappy's Heritage again because the tomato itself wasn't exactly what we were looking for. It's a great producer and did well, good disease resistance, but it's a little less meaty than what we need. Too much that tomato gel and seeds, not enough meat. So it doesn't really do the best for canning, and certainly not for slicing, where Bonnie Best can do well for canning a good meaty tomato, and also slicing if you want to. I guess the Tappy's Heritage is a good canner for some things, just not what we're looking for. The beefsteak also did well. Our Cherokee Purples did not do well, which is a bummer. Abe Lincolns, we had a few large tomatoes, but they could do better. The Cherokee Purple and Abe Lincoln, by the way, and maybe in the beefsteak, there are different strains of those out there. Brad Gates has messed with the Cherokee Purple and gotten a better strain out there. We're going to go directly to Brad Gates Wild Boar Farms and buy seeds next year for that. And the Abe Lincoln, there's a heavy producer, that produces more tomatoes but less size, and then there's the one that produces huge tomatoes but less tomatoes. And we've got the one that produces large tomatoes but very few and not as disease resistant. And we're going to look for the one that produces more tomatoes, I believe, next year. Now, all that being said, what can be our fix? I guess I should say, what have we learned? What can be our fix? Well, while we are heirloom gardeners, again, hybrids do have their place. Hybrids have a better disease resistance. So what we could do, and what others may do as well, is if you're having trouble with disease in your dirt and in your disease in your garden, you could grow some hybrid varieties to try to end that disease cycle. Okay, we may wind up doing that next year. We can also till up different dirt, crop rotate, and we may wind up changing how the garden flows, if it goes different ways or whatever. There's just so many different things that you can do. Again, hybrids typically have a better disease resistance than heirlooms. Some heirlooms have a great disease resistance. Again, Carbon did great, Bonnie Best did great, Tappy's Heritage did great. Those all did wonderful even in disease. and beefsteak did all right. So we had some good tomatoes still, but not everything is going to have that same disease resistance. So we may put some hybrid varieties in there next year. We may spread the tomatoes out in different ways next year. I may till up a few spots over here on the other side of the yard just to spread them out, you know, especially the ones that are more disease prone, because they can carry disease to other tomatoes. So those are the things we learned this year, just from our examinations. We did grow some other varieties of tomatoes, like orange peach. That was one that we grew one tomato plant of, just to see if we like it or not. The tomato was good. It did succumb to disease. Our cherry tomatoes were the blueberries. They did fine. So those are all things that we learned from our 2021 tomato growing ventures. Also, I guess I should say that we have 2 container varieties that were dwarf varieties. The Geranium Kiss tomato has done well. Small tomatoes did good, even though we put bad dirt inside the container. Tasmanian Chocolate was supposed to be a small slicing tomato. It has not done well in the same dirt as the Geranium Kiss did. So again, learn that too. So hey, thanks for watching so much. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe if you want to continue to see our content. We do appreciate you guys watching. My name is Jason, and this is Art of Creation Homestead. I love you guys. God bless you, and goodbye.